Welcome back to Simply English with Hepsiba Samuel. Today we're going to see how English has become the most prominent language in the world. English is very weird though. It can be understood through tough, thorough thought though. Have you ever wondered if the S or the C is silent in the word scent? Why is W called a W when it is actually a double V? The word Q is just a Q followed by 4 silent letters. Funny, isn't it? English is actually really weird. There are some words when they move up in the degree of comparison, horror becomes horrible and horrific. Okay, that's a negative way of putting it. But then we have terror. Terror becomes terrible and then it moves on to become terrific, which is actually positive. Now, the story of English has undergone a lot of change. It has moved from the Old English to the Middle English to the modern day English that is spoken today. The story began many centuries ago. United Kingdom was an island which was open to attack from all sides, and it was a free-for-all. Kings invaded more countries in order to show themselves as invincible. The first language that we know about in the British Isles are the Celtic ones like the Welsh and Scots Gaelic. These people probably settled here around 600 BC. That's more than about 2,500 years ago. And even till today, we have several words that we have borrowed from Welsh, like corgi, which means a little dog, or whiskey from Gaelic, which means water of life. Water of life, huh? The next group of people who invaded were the Romans. Now, the Romans invaded the British Isles in 55 BC, and the Romans spoke Latin. They gave Latin names to many places, and these names are still being used today. For instance, there is a name called Chester, which is derived from a Roman name for that particular place. It comes from their word camp. I'm sure you know a lot of other words that have been incorporated into English from Latin. The next group of people who invaded the British Isles were the Anglo-Saxons. Now, they spoke a language which slowly turned itself into the English that we speak today, and it was called the Old English. Now, these people were known as the Anglo-Saxons, and the language that they spoke was called Anglo-Saxon or Old English. Many words that began during the Old English period are still used today. For example, cow, house, bread, sword are all the words that are being used even today. There are many other words like hair, nose, beard, tongue. All these are words that are borrowed from the Anglo-Saxon time and still being used in the present day English as well. The next group of people were the Vikings. Now, you would be wondering why England was still being attacked. Yes, England was open for all and the Vikings were warriors. They invaded the British Isles, and they came from countries like Denmark and Norway, and they spoke languages which later developed into the Norwegian and the Danish languages. The language that the Vikings spoke left behind many words in English. For example, husband, law, anger. All these were words that were used in the Norwegian and the Danish language, which is still being used in English too. The next group of people who invaded, as history says, were the Normans. The Normans invaded the British Isles in 1066 from a place called Normandy in France. Now, they brought in a lot of French words into the English language. And if a person during that time could speak French and English, it was thought to be of a high status. And it brought many new words from the French language into English, like cash, age, reward, mirror. All these are words that have crept in from the French language into English. Now, the part that we saw until now was called the Old English period. The Old English period moved into the Middle English period. Now, this is the time where a number of books were published, and Gutenberg had also invented the printing press. So when the printing press came into effect, there were many books people wanted to read, and they started printing a lot of books. There were many stories and novels that were written. The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer is one of the most important or prominent books that were written during the Middle English period. The printing press aided the spread of the English language. When the printing press started to make publications, many people thought that we should have a uniform way of writing. So they decided that they were going to put together grammar rules so that it would help people stick to one format of writing and speaking English. The first book to be published was the English Bible. In 1520, the New Testament of the Bible was translated into English by William Tyndale. That was a huge hit. People who knew English wanted to read the Bible, which was only read out to them when they attended church. So obviously the church didn't like it. So they could not get copies of the New Testament printed in the British Isles. So there were other countries that published it, and it was smuggled into England. So England by now had been attacked by many invaders, and the influence of other languages from across the world had crept into England, and they were all getting mixed up in the local languages that were being spoken. It was a mix of English, it was a mix of French, it was a mix of German, it was a mix of Latin. England by now understood their position. So in the 16th century, a great interest in studying began. People began to read books written in Latin and Greek, and they borrowed words from these languages as well. By the 16th century, the invaders had stopped invading the British Isles. Now, England realized their importance in the world geography, and they started moving out to study, trade, and for political reasons. So they wanted to go out and conquer the world now. William Shakespeare, around about that time, between 1564 and 1616, is said to have contributed to millions of words. Now, he was the greatest playwright the world has ever seen. So he put words together, he put letters together, formed a new word, and got them into his plays that he wrote. When the new words were being used in the plays, people understood it in the context of the play. England set out on a war against the world. They conquered the world around them, and everywhere they went, they used their trading skills, they used their language skills, and they were able to conquer almost 3/4 of the world. There was a time in history when England conquered 3/4 of the world, and wherever they went, they ensured that the locals used their language. There were many countries that became a part of the English Empire, and English slowly started gaining prominence across the world. In today's world, the non-native speakers outnumber the number of native speakers that speak English. India has about 125 crores of people that speak English as a second language. 1 in every 5 people in the world use English as their official language, and today English is a language that has grown leaps and bounds. Today's modern English is completely different from how old and Middle English was spoken. There are many dialects today, there are different forms in which it is written. So modern English is completely different. Now, as the spread of English increased across the world, there are today many forms of English present today. We have Franglish, we have Hinglish, we have Black English, we have Norwegian English, we have Chenglish. There are very good reasons for you to study English today. 1, it is the most commonly spoken language. 2, it increases your chance of getting a good paying job. It's the official language of almost 53 countries across the world. And it's the first language that's spoken by about 400 million people around the world. It's the language of many industries, the movie industry, the media industry. The internet uses a lot of English, and it's based on simple letters of the alphabet. It gives you a lot of satisfaction when you learn a new language which uses many other world languages also. It's a variety that is given to you on a platter. So when you learn about many other cultures of the world also that have contributed to the development of English. Thank you for tuning in to Simply English with me. Till we meet next time, like, follow and subscribe. Thank you.